Hey, it's me, GV, and welcome to GV Guides. I wanted to do a quick review of Nine Souls now that I've done everything pretty much. I missed 3 achievements in it. One was for a particular interaction with a boss fight that was missable. Another one was for breaking a clay pot that was missable. And then the last one is for forcibly removing the map chip from one of the robots, which is missable if you didn't do that, because I figured, hey, well, I want to do the nice thing, which I guess there are 2 kind of paths to that. Anyways, I've done basically everything in the game outside of those. I'm considering running through it again to get those, but that's a lot of time for 3 paltry achievements. Anyways, if you didn't know, I did guides for every single boss in the game and mini boss, as well as some other things here and there. So check out the guides playlist if you're interested in getting help. And let's get into the review. So we'll start with gameplay. This game is very similar to Hollow Knight. If you've played Hollow Knight, 1-to-1 almost, which, whenever that situation happens, I'm always like, okay, is that a good or a bad thing? Because obviously, being influenced by a game like Hollow Knight and then translating that to your own game is good, because then we get a bunch of other games like that, and, if they're good, that's fantastic. But I always do kind of edge on the side of, err on the side of, wanting games to be their own thing, and you could definitely say Nine Souls is its own thing for sure, especially with its story and everything. But yeah, when something is so similar, because this is very, very similar to Hollow Knight, for me, it's always a question of, is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. In this case, I let it slide because Nine Souls is such a good game. I don't really mind if it's super duper close to Hollow Knight, but yes, there are clear influences from Hollow Knight in this game. And basically what that means is a big interconnected map with a lot of shortcuts and abilities to unlock, and, different combat styles and badges, or jades as they're called in this game, different little bonfires or root nodes. A lot of similarities. And if you haven't played Hollow Knight, I definitely recommend it because it's amazing, and I have a tattoo of it. I love that game to death. So anyways, gameplay is extremely similar to that. Basically very quick, snappy combat, where you're basically just tapping X all the time to do quick hits, and then utilizing your talismans to kind of dash in and out of combat, using your dashes, using your, the abilities that you unlock throughout the game, to basically find the playstyle that works for you, and then, absorbing what a boss is doing and figuring out their weaknesses and beating them. Same thing with little enemies, and then basically just exploring the map and unlocking different things. So that type of gameplay is very addictive. I think it's why Hollow Knight was such a big success, and why I love it so much. So if you like that sort of Metroidvania style, especially with the gameplay and combat of Hollow Knight, this game will be totally up your alley. As far as the aesthetic, and sorry for the million comparisons to Hollow Knight here, I didn't prefer it to Hollow Knight. I loved Hollow Knight's moody, atmospheric, dark nature to it. This game had definitely an interesting aesthetic. It was hand-drawn animation, and I love that, especially with Cuphead. But yeah, it was a beautiful game. I don't think it perfectly fits my aesthetic preferences, just because, I don't know, there's just something about it that wasn't making me completely enthralled with something like Hollow Knight, which is very Halloween-y and stuff, and I just like that more. So that's entirely subjective, obviously. This game is beautiful in a lot of ways. It has little kind of manga cutscenes, and it's got that hand-drawn animation, a lot of color to it. Sort of a color palette of, I don't know what you would call it. It's not really pastel. It's more like, I don't know. Everything looks kind of very colored in and almost watercolored a bit. And it's a cool aesthetic. It's not my preferred style, but, I think it's really a beautiful game in a lot of ways. And as far as the music, I'll be honest, I played this game with the music turned really low because I did not expect to like this game as much as I did. I wanted to go through it and guide it, but I wasn't really expecting to really get enthralled with it. So I kind of regret not turning up the music a bit more. From what I heard, it's very good. For me, I don't think music really sticks with me unless it's very, very unique. A lot of JRPG music I love to death. For instance, I feel like this one's a little bit more ambient, but I probably just wasn't listening to the music as much as I should have been. As far as the difficulty, it wasn't too rough. There was a huge jump in difficulty for a certain boss, the first 3-phase boss you fight. And then the final boss was a massive spike. I tried to practice the bosses until I really feel like I get them down so that I can relay the information from my guides. And that final boss it took me more time than like all the other bosses combined, I feel like. So overall, the difficulty I don't feel like is that bad, especially compared to something like Hollow Knight or the From Software games or whatever. But there are definitely points where I could totally see people getting stuck at, and, definite challenging moments. So, the difficulty was pretty good for the most part, but I think there are a little bit of inconsistencies in terms of how difficult certain things are, like that final boss. Even if you don't do the true ending, which adds a third phase to the final boss, still like way harder than like basically everything else, which makes sense because it's the final boss, but still, a lot of bosses are just a lot easier than that. As far as the exploration goes, I really enjoyed it. A lot of just kind of boring chests here and there that don't do much outside of give you gold, but there was a lot of cool little interesting things to find. I think they did a great job with having like, unique doors and rooms that had challenges that would get you something extra. And one thing I wanted to touch on was, I loved the hub world, the pavilion, the Four Seasons pavilion, and also interacting with all the characters. I did not expect to like those characters as much as I did, especially Schwan, I think is his name, giving him like a million gifts and seeing how that, relationship develops. That was so well done. The characters and how you interact with them and what you can get in the world and then give to them, how certain things change. All that was super cool, especially, the Four Seasons pavilion I really liked. So exploration wise, it's pretty good. I do wish there was a little more to find outside of just a lot of chests, which, once you get to a certain point, the money is kind of meaningless. But the cool, interactive, interesting, unique things were very fun to explore. As far as the story goes, I'm going to be real with you. I tried to follow it, but I really was expecting to play this game passively. And then over time, I kind of really got invested in it. So, I was watching a lot of stuff, listening to a lot of stuff, because I just did not expect to really get that interested. And this game turned out to be really, really good. So, I wasn't up to date with every single thing going on. I was kind of speed reading the dialogue, but it's an interesting enough story. I think once again, it's very similar to the Dark Souls stuff and Hollow Knight, where there's this curse, whatever you want to call it, that's on this community, and slowly but surely, everything is being destroyed, and they're trying to desperately find a way to save it, just like in Hollow Knight, just like in Dark Souls, some curse that persists and is ruining this world. And then, you basically have to take down, the pillars of the community because they are wanting to do something that you don't want to do. So that's the overall story, obviously. But this had really interesting stuff. The ape men or the humans, and then also how the souls kind of interacted with each other. And then the overall arcing story of trying to save, I guess, Panglai, was it? And then moving to New Kunlun. It was pretty good. I definitely needed to pay more attention to really absorb it more, but overall, I definitely was getting more and more interested as the game went on. So that is my review for Nine Souls. I definitely recommend this game, especially if you were a fan of Metroidvanias, especially if you're a fan of Hollow Knight. And if you have not played Hollow Knight, go play that game because it's a masterpiece. Really surprised me. Went into it kind of expecting a decent experience, whatever, not knowing much about it. By the end of it, very surprised at how quality this game was. It's one of the best, Hollow Knight style Metroidvanias that I've played ever. And I really tip my hat to the developers. I joined the Discord and even said, wow, amazing job. I was not expecting to get so enthralled. So, I give this game an 8.4 out of 10. I definitely recommend it. It is on Microsoft Game Pass right now, or Xbox, whatever it's called. So you can play for free if you are a part of that service. And give it a shot if you're interested. Thanks so much for watching my guides. Thanks for watching this review. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.